About 3 years ago, I started working as a waiter at a restaurant that I was invited to. And in there, I made a lot of experiences. I worked there for well over a year. I was on a nice Christmas celebration with a lot of food, where I ate so much that I had to puke in the night. Then, eventually, the chef got kind of hostile and he was always kind of stressed and kind of put it out on the workers. So they didn't like being there anymore. I stayed well over 2 months that I hated this job. I stood up in the morning and then had in mind, okay, in 3 hours have to go to this work. I have to drive like 5 minutes, okay, I have to get breakfast in until then, and I have to shower, I have to get my nice little outfit ready. And I hated this. Do you know this feeling of stress that kind of consumes you and you can't op- can't stop thinking and obsessing about the things you will have to do? Like it's restlessness. It's restlessness that is the worst feeling for me, and it might be for you as well. It's like the big brother of stress. To some extent, stress is actually good because it will help you perform better. You know this. If you've worked on a little school project and you have a deadline for tomorrow, you will do everything in the last evening, even skip the dinner for it. So I worked there and I hated it every moment. I was in there, got commanded around, and didn't feel appreciated. So eventually I left. It was quite a nice goodbye. Then, in the following months, I felt kind of like something was missing. I had a bit of a lack of warm energy inside of me because I didn't have so much to do anymore. I was kind of lazy, I was feeling lazy, I didn't do much. So then I started my kind of second period of that working experience life. I started volunteering at a nearby animal shelter, which was kind of they kept goats and even donkeys and a few of dogs that were getting fed every day, but it wasn't like an animal shelter like you'd imagine it in this big concrete house with these almost prison-like cells. It was more of a open field with those animals. And now this was a kind of bigger club. There were around 10 people, I think, in there already, and I joined them in high hopes of now getting to fill that void that I felt. And it actually worked for quite a while, and I had an amazing time. This was also during the time I meditated 2 hours a day and was kind of on this Buddhism path. And I actually believe this time of life benefited me a lot. And if you kind of have some spare time, I would actually encourage you to get some more experiences in some field of your life. Being a voluntary worker is amazing for working out kind of your humility and also doing good on the side. An aunt of me likes to say saving the world with those activities. Another way is to get little jobs for students. So, for example, you could go into a restaurant. Restaurants are most of the time pretty frustrated with workers because they don't have enough or their workers are pretty bad, so they would need new stock, which hopefully gets better. I wouldn't really encourage these shop work things where you just stay at the counter in front of the cashier machine and then type numbers in all day. I think this gets kind of boring and you don't build quite the charisma you could by actually trying to sell the things on the card, like selling a new wine. And it will also look kind of. I've put people so many times into buying something that I didn't even know anything about. You could say I'm a bad person for this, but I actually think quite it helped me a lot dealing with those stressful situations in which I was expected to know something which I really didn't. One time there were two ladies which actually came from another city just to taste the ice cream at the restaurant which I was working at. And now they had all these questions about the ice cream because it was self-made and we got we had all these different flavors like popcorn and Tahiti vanilla. It was quite a lot, so I did not know anything about those and how those were made or how those even looked like. So one woman asked about the green tea, and I said straight to her face, "Yeah, it looks kind of like matcha. Have you ever tried matcha before?" She said, "Yeah, I like it. Okay, buy this one then." And then the thing I brought out looked nothing like this green matcha you'd expect. And I actually suffered no consequences from that. So I think those restaurant jobs will kind of teach you that if you mess up, it does not really matter. Even though you may have like a business thought behind it, it really doesn't. I think it's important to have multiple seasons in your life. You know that in during some time, like in the last 2 months, you've noticed that you don't really enjoy doing one thing anymore. For example, you maybe have enjoyed lifting a lot, but now the season and the temperature started to drop a bit. It's gotten darker. You're not so motivated anymore. So now you may want to go for more walks and kind of run more. It's not about just sticking to one thing for eternity. Like, of course, that's nice with a couple of habits, and it's also how you build strength and habits and how you build yourself up eventually. But I do not believe that, for example, with jobs, after a certain point, kind of get to you get to the point where you don't really enjoy it anymore, and your results are kind of diminishing because you don't learn a lot from it. So it actually suggests you move on to another job or another experience to build another thing right now that you actually enjoy as well. With that, you always have to keep your purpose in mind as well, your inner truth. You wouldn't want to work for, if you care about animals, you wouldn't want to work in woodworking for the moment. You would actually want to go out and kind of build the inner calmness with those animals. So, for example, with donkeys, if you have donkeys near your home, a Buddhist once said to me that they actually can hear what you think. So, this is a really nice way to develop mindfulness. And dogs also can feel what you think, and they can feel what you feel. Your emotional states are very intelligent. Of these things in everyday life we kind of overlook, but they will actually help us develop so much faster and so much more. So with those seasons, it's no shame to kind of switch around. For my father always says we should get experience in our young years, which I kind of agree to, but not in the degenerate ways. Like if you don't even enjoy the clubs and you feel like doing, if you're doing drugs and you know that it's bad, you should not go on and then experience what it's like to have your third hit a day. It's more of like keep away from the bad habits that would pull you down in life, but try to cultivate a lot more mind states which are positive and will get you further in life. Build the skills, build the social skills in everyday life, which you would need to convince people in the future. Build the way you talk up so you can attract your future wife and talk to her in a loving manner. With that, also, we see a lot of guys being sad or walking around with their AirPods in and looking at the ground, right? Not smiling. I think smiling is one of the most underrated things during these days, especially in the winter time, because now everybody's kind of alone and so it's so sad. Like, quite honestly, if you smile, you will feel kind of stupid about it. Like, if you force your smile, then you will get a lot more happier. You will get happier, not only in the moment, but for the remainder after that. It's like you've just casted a spell on yourself and now you kind of healed your mental health. Do you know what I'm saying? So, this is quite a nice trick. What's also nice about living life, you know that living life is kind of the way, but with all of these distractions, I don't blame you at all for kind of taking the back seat right now and thinking, okay, I kind of don't want to do anything today. I think I'm just gonna scroll on YouTube a bit and then do my journals in the evening. Of course, there's the guy now doing push-ups on the ground. And for a while, you should focus on this too. Doing 100 push-ups a day for as long as you can and until as long as you can manage to do it. But then you also have to keep in mind, kind of, what do you really want? Living life, you will see all of this bullshit thrown towards you. And if you can see that and actually block it off, like laugh about when you can't actually get to school on time because your tire has just popped, then your humor will, building up your humor in these situations will get you so much further in life. If your woman seems ugly to you in the future and is kind of hostile towards you, you know the worst thing you can do is actually react with the same energy and ask what's wrong. The better way to actually get her out of this gloomy mood is to open her up, like open her arms up physically and then smile towards you. And if you're happy, then she will also get happy because she will feel it. And I've experienced this for myself. I'm not giving some half-assed advice right here. I actually believe this is true. You know that the internet is kind of borderline. Like you get off these extremes because only the people you see on the internet are getting quite into the extremes of life, right? Because those in the middle, we wouldn't really care about if we're getting into a new hobby. If you want to learn tennis, for example, would you rather listen to the guy which only plays tennis all the time and kind of obsesses over it kind of autistically, or would you rather listen to a person which plays tennis on the side but also does baseball and he does football as well? Now he talks about all of these different areas, but is not so he's not so advanced as the guy which only does tennis. You get what I'm saying? He might be broader in his stance, but he's not quite so peaked where the tennis player might be. So in life, you will kind of feel how your identity wants to change. For example, into the tennis player. And then, of course, you want to see the tennis player and get kind of into his perspective and do everything he wants. Which is actually good. It's the best way to, obsessing over things, the best way to achieve them. It's not by trying to keep the balance at all times. I actually believe that if you go 100% all out in one thing, that you will do faster progress than if you had 7 things which you want to focus on all of the time and do it at the same time. This would take 3 years, but getting every of those 7 things up in one way, going all out, it would only take 2 years. Do you know what I'm saying here? So with that, of course, you will have different life seasons, and I can't quite understand the guys which only want to stick to this and this forever. Because we as young men, we want adventures and kind of get those new experiences, kind of new hits. We don't want to. We can live, sure, and it's nice for the moment, but after that, in a few years, it won't be your priority anymore. So you will switch on to another thing. And though sport is important, I actually believe that you could take some time off from sports, do the bare minimum, and get the progress in another field of life to then, if you have the goal in this one achieved, that you can go back to everything again, balance it a bit, and then move on to the next extreme. Would never suggest that you actually leave your responsibilities in the past, but you should also not use your responsibilities and maybe even your family, if you have a family, as your excuse to not do things. Because quite honestly, we know if we are not gonna do a thing in the next 48 hours, which we tell ourselves to do, then we probably will never do it. For me, it was like this. 2 years ago, I told myself I would start with YouTube. I did not start until 1.5 months ago. So what does that say about us humans? We're quite lazy, to be honest. We don't want to do much, but with that, if we can obsess about a thing, like I've said, and then it actually is a lot of fun, we would rather do that because we don't feel lazy doing it. Because we can be lazy and still advance like crazy in this. So don't be afraid to kind of test yourself out and go kind of beyond your limit, what you know now. Do some unexpected things because what's the worst that can happen, really? We always think about this. For me, it's like I think about the worst case scenario and then I'm, oh, do I really want to do that? For me, it was like this in the past. Now I just kind of ram into it like face on because this is the identity I've built up for myself. But I can understand and relate to the guys which kind of want, which say, I'm not really comfortable with that because this might happen, this might happen. For 2 years ago, I didn't want to start YouTube. It was the only factor, by the way, which I didn't want to start YouTube by. It was that I was scared that other people will look at the videos, and those people are in my close social circle, like the friends and my family, and that they will think worse of me. Now that I've gotten even deeper connections, I know that the compatibility will play into this, and also your good friends which would look at those videos, they would actually support you. They wouldn't try to laugh at you. The people that laugh at this are the people that laugh about everything. These are objectively bad people. These are the guys which would laugh about everything and try to get everything down to a worst point of perspective, right? These are the guys which laughed about the rich guys in the submarine only because they were rich. There will always be guys hating on you because you're bad looking, you're good looking, you have much money, you don't have a lot of money, you're fat, you're too fit. I think it's a cope mechanism in weak people's minds. But if they hate everything and they are trying to make everything worse, then you're not in it. It's not your fault, and you can just ignore those people and throw them out. You don't even care about them, right? They are not your friends. They will never be your friends if you have standards, and then it's only yourself. I hope this video has helped you and brought you a bit of perspective onto how to design the future months. I believe that you can have some decent adventures because you want adventures, right? You don't want to sit on your PC playing League of Legends and Minecraft all day. It's not that. It's you want to go out. Even when your friends say, okay, I can't go out right now. But they don't come on League anyway, so just go out, man. Have a lot of fun, and I'll see you soon.